To New York City by water. We are going to go all around the island of Manhattan on the Circle Line cruise. It's an awesome ride that takes you on a unique perspective of this city because this city is known for its magnificent skyline. And sometimes it's very hard to see the skyline all in one go because that would require you either to drive or to walk the entire length of the island. However, we get to see the entire skyline in only the course of 2.5 hours. I'm Ariel with Urbanness. Let me know where you're watching from, and let's go around Manhattan. Right now we are looking towards the Empire State Building right there in the center, and off to the side is the Hudson Yards, a $25 billion private development project, a combination of commercial and also residential. Here are the silver towers of 42nd Street, and soon we're going to see more of the amazing skyline. I'm so excited. I love going by water in New York City. Anything with ferries or taking a boat around the city is just my favorite way of experiencing the city. Let me know if it is for you as well. So here is the cruise. It's pretty wide and spacious. Lots of people around here. Now, it is off tourist season because we are in the middle of a pandemic, so there's not that many people here. However, if you were to come here a normal time, it would be packed to the brim. So hello everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanness. Let me know where you're watching from. Have you taken the Circle Line before? Or have you taken any type of ferry or boat around the island? Let me know. This is my first time going the Circle Line. Let's go.
Part of the museum. On the rear of the flight deck, inside that big dark silver tent, is the first space shuttle ever launched. The first of 135 missions in the program.
So right there is the USS.
A Concorde next to it with the rescue on the tail is also part of the museum. That particular airplane, it holds the speed record across the Atlantic Ocean.
Hey, thank you so much for the super sticker. 40 Russian dollars. I'm not sure what's the currency, but thank you so much.
We'll talk about the rescue a bit late in the trip. Now, the last active duty of the Intrepid, the aircraft carrier, the last active duty was recovery of the early space capsules that floated over in the Atlantic Ocean. One of the capsules is behind a tree now.
Robert, do I travel with the group? No, I usually do my videos on my own, or sometimes I have a friend of mine who helps me film it or co-host. Today, I'm by my own.
The big white tent is on the side of the ship. One of the space capsules
he's referring to
is in the yellow capsule. It's a space capsule, Gemini space capsule. 2 astronauts circle the globe in the capsule. Empire State is the big building behind the first of the yellow cranes here on our left. Over the top of the white ship there with the big dark tall tower is Empire. At 102
wow, look at that.
floors in height, the tallest.
We're seeing Billionaires Row there in the distance.
Held that title world's
seeing the Central Park Tower, the
years.
Steinway Tower, a few others. 111th, 55th Street also. We're seeing, I think that one's 55th. West 57th Street.
Shut the door behind you when you come out. In or out of the balcony.
No, we're going to go all around. We're starting in 42nd Street on the Circle Line Harbor. So on the west side, we're starting on the Hudson River.
The upper deck is open to the weather, so is the bow.
I'm going to talk over the guy
who's
talking, so
on the right is
let me know if you have any questions.
We have an orange and green structure that's the Lincoln Tunnel air ventilation system. Lincoln Tunnel delivers about 14 million vehicles a year in the Manhattan big 6-lane highway under the river.
Hello,
Big
Susan.
here,
hello, Michael.
on the left.
Basti,
This
welcome.
grave here is a place you would never want to visit.
bienvenidos.
It's operated now
Welcome,
by
everyone.
New York City's
Welcome,
Parking
Maria.
Violations Bureau. You go there only to pick up your car and pay the fine. Last year, over 130,000 vehicles were hauled off New York City streets for illegal parking. And here on our left, delivered over $14 million.
No one with masks. Yeah, not that many people are using masks. I'm going to wear my mask.
It says on the front.
It's a gorgeous day. Highly agree. Though, you know, it is nice because we are
Now we come to the group of
We are open air currently in this level.
$25 billion job.
Deb, you're not seeing the full shot because I'm multi-streaming both on Facebook and YouTube. I have more followers on Facebook, so if you want to see the full chat there, you have to go Urbanist Live on Facebook. Here we're passing Hudson Yards.
That's an observatory over the public park that should be completed and the river.
Can you determine if you're on board in the newer vessel? I can't really tell, though I'll try to investigate after this tour is done. Sarah, thank you so much for the stars.
Very unusual public park going up above.
Rosaline, 30 degrees here in the UK. I think it's around that same temperature here, though having the breeze is nice.
City of New York opened its first sports arena. We simply don't even know to find it.
Wave to Chelsea, will do. That's Chelsea. We're passing Chelsea right over here. So all along here we started there with a vessel earlier today. $25 billion for that project, including 30 Hudson Yards, that one with the sharp edge. That one has the observation deck called the Edge. And it's the tallest outdoor observation deck in the entire world.
In that building for almost 30 years, and we moved it away.
Here we're passing the what used to be the industrial buildings of Chelsea.
Never changed the old name.
Hello, Marguerite from Ireland. Where's the George Washington Bridge? Don't see it, but the new towers are pretty. You're going to see it soon. It's pretty far away to show it to you via camera, but you're going to see it in the latter end of this tour. It's 2.5 hours.
Blue piers coming up are the Chelsea piers. Chelsea Ferry typical ahead of us.
And here we're seeing more. Here we have Jersey City. I'm very curious about this because I've shown you a lot of the New York City skyline, but I haven't seen too much of Jersey.
I want to head southbound on the Hudson River as we do so. New Jersey's going to stay on our right-hand side all the way down to the Staten River, down a Hoboken, New Jersey, coming up, down to Weehawken. And head for the harbor, southbound on the Hudson River. Again, everyone's hauled up in the background. Over on our left, our far left,
Frederick, you made it last night. Absolutely fantastic. I recommend it. Me too. I mean, I'm enjoying this so far.
Obvious attractor number 4040 from Kenny here. We've got that cross street. Green here come up on the left.
No worries, Phyllis. Always glad to show you more details. Have I done the boat cruise on the Seine? Yes, I have. I've gone on the ferry along the Seine. It's called the Bateau Bus. Or at least I did the Bateau Bus. And I did a video on it, so you can check it out. Go to the Paris playlist on the videos tab in the Urbanist page. You'll see it. At the beginning, what's the huge wedge-shaped gray shed structure? What is that? So, I'm not entirely sure which one you're referring to, but if you're referring to that pointy one, that was a Frederick Engels building on 57th Street. It's called, I forgot what was the name, I think it's called West 57th.
New York City has 578 miles of coastline and boats fight fires at the water's edge. That's fire boat number 343, the red light road on our left-hand side. That is named for 343 members of the front killed at the World Trade Center on the day the towers fell. That's the fastest fire boat on Earth that travels at
do I have a hat on? No, I do not have a hat on at all.
The rescue something on the water, especially what you have to rescue should not be there. Like 1549, that's a good example. That
George, I don't know, but we'll get a closer look once we go around back onto the Hudson.
90 seconds, minute and a half, then it's gone. Sunk.
VT, you've done the Circle Line tour a few times in Manhattan. Very important. I'm so glad you're enjoying it.
Fireboat participated in it.
So right here we
As
see
you the fireboat station on the left, we're coming to Greenwich Village. Now the city of Greenwich, that's what it was, a separate city.
We see right there
The
the
city
new
of Greenwich
park.
was absorbed into New York in the year 1830 and And New York probably did there what it will do anywhere. It will level Manhattan Island and get rid of every hill. And we don't see any hills at all. Originally, there were hundreds of them throughout Manhattan. And originally, we had about...
They're wonky. So that's what's called modern architecture. And it's done on purpose. Don't worry, it's not leaning. Those two buildings. Sheldon, we started at 42nd Street.
Does not go straight.
On the west side.
It winds around the old hill. Long drive.
So 42nd Street and 12th Avenue, basically.
Coming up on the New Jersey shore.
Look at that.
On the right. It's a hotel.
The person in front of you is about to lose their hat. Yeah, I think so. Here we have views of the Jersey skyline.
Back in the year 1907, when the big green terminal opened up ahead on the water, like that on the right.
Wow.
Green area like the water transportation terminal. Opening in 1907, when there was no airport in town, there had never been a bridge or a tunnel here. There had never been a way to get across this river from New Jersey over to New York. Now there was a way. And in 1907, from the place up ahead on the right, a boat would leave for the city of New York every 30 minutes round the clock. Price you then with 1 penny a cent to ride across the river. Hundreds of thousands of people made that ride every month. Now, Yankee Hudson's ride was a shock.
That's why the Australians do it that way.
Ironically, on the morning of
Moi, je suis français de Paris.
Hudson entered the river ahead of us going out.
Bonjour.
We are now. He expects
Merci.
within 2 days at the most, he will be in the Pacific
Êtes-vous in New York? I don't know French, but I'm doing my best. Thank you so much for watching, River. How long is the cruise? 2.5 hours. It started at 3 p.m. and will be ending at 5:30. Yeah.
Salt washes up this river for almost another 100 more miles behind us. Hudson finally out of salt. Boy, he's out of luck. He's not going to find New York. His trip's going to be a failure. Turned out to be a big success in another thing. Anyway, Hudson returned.
Good afternoon, Gayatri. Nice to see you here. Oh, look at that. Huge boat. I love that. That's one very empty boat. It is, and I'm grateful. I don't like when touristic places are crowded. I tend to go for the emptier ones. Let me know what you think. Do you usually like going to touristy places when they're empty or when they're full?
So the Dutch settled their town of New Amsterdam, shipping fur over the waters, doing quite well. Light brown structures up ahead of us on either side. They're out over the water. Just behind the left boat out there, a stack of silver boxes.
Can I smell the water? I can't tell because I'm wearing a mask. But yeah, you would be able to smell the water. It's very nice. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever.
As you go through Tryon, you're going to come to Soho or some house street houses.
BT, you say yes, empty boat is fabulous. I agree. The Hudson smells, not as much anymore. It used to be a little bit more smelly 20 years ago, I remember, but not so much anymore. It is a much more pleasant. Is there a bathroom on the boat? Yes, there's actually 2 of them, which is nice.
It will take you probably all day. It's a rough, long, hard journey.
People. So we're taking a stroll, a boat ride around Manhattan. That's one of the events for the Holland Tunnel, right here in Jersey City. This is Jersey City. I haven't been here yet. Should I do a video here? Let me know in the comments. This is Jersey City, in the great state of New Jersey. I don't know too much about it, to be honest, right now, at least. So we saw Hoboken and we saw Weehawken. Hoboken, Weehawken. They ends with Kens, and that means they're most likely a Native American name. And now we're passing Jersey City. George, thank you for letting me know. Karen, 750 stars. Thank you so much. The stars are not direct money to Stars, 750 stars is about $7.50. But thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate the stars. And I appreciate the super chats. The person who gave me a super chat on YouTube, thank you. Let me know how to pronounce your name again, please. Forgive me for forgetting. You left me a super chat last night, but I don't know how to read Russian. But not, yes, that is the vent building. I'll show you the one on this side, right over here. So, right over here. It's going to get really windy, so.
Waterfront originally, the original building was built right on the edge of the Hudson River. Every building this side of it is on landfill. It's not part of World Trade at all. We're approaching that tree line landfill right now. And the new big tower number 1 is not on the old location, because nothing is going to be built where 2,977 people were killed. So that's going to be an open space, and this is pushed north to the left of the original. So ground zero is a better view.
Okay, let me take a seat. Let's enjoy views of the. We'll see a little bit more downtown Manhattan, but let's enjoy New Jersey. I love boat rides. Me too. Me too, Gayatri. And that trip is awesome. Greetings from Medellín. Gracias por mirando de Medellín. Espero que todo está bien en Nueva York. I mean, en Colombia. Someone's waving back. Yay. All right, everyone. We're getting close to the Statue of Liberty. Basti, thank you so much. Do a live video from Jersey sometime, please, says Brandon. Okay, we got two people. Gwen also says she wants Jersey City. Awesome. I wish you had an hour TV show. Donna, maybe, yeah, sometime soon. It'll happen. You'll see me on TV soon. Maybe Discovery Channel, maybe History Channel, maybe Netflix, maybe Amazon. Barry, thanks for taking this tour with me, for me. You've been meaning to come here for years. And Brandon, I've actually been to New York City 3 times and never made it to Jersey City. Me too. You know, being a lifelong New Yorker, I've mostly been to New Jersey to see Six Flags Great Adventure, which is an amazing theme park. If you ever get the chance to visit, if you enjoy roller coasters. Otherwise, I've rarely been to Jersey. Donald says we'll definitely see you on TV. Yeah, Donald. Can I see Manhattan? Rosaline, you'll see Manhattan soon. I'll show you now, yeah, because we're passing upon the views.
Okay. You ready?
We'll leave the Hudson River at the clock.
That's a good one.
Have to get it under control.
Signs on them in the last things. Yours has been here since I'm a kid. It's a landmark now.
Jim, you say looking at Jersey City online, the modern part with the towers looks pretty boring, though they appear to have some older neighborhoods with brownstones. Yeah, I think Hoboken has older architecture. George, you have to press twice, so when you buy stars, it doesn't mean you're buying stars directly from me. You have to buy stars and then send the stars. So for anyone who's curious about Facebook stars, it's a tip. Basically buy me a virtual cup of coffee for these live videos. So you buy the stars and then you have to send them. On YouTube, you can send a super chat. Tour where John Bon Jovi grew up and started his band in New Jersey, please. Maybe one day. I know John Bon Jovi is actually still living in Jersey, I think. Bernard, is this less vertical inducing? Yes, I am using the iPhone 11, so I can go wide angle, and right now I'm in normal. I could also go telephoto, but it'll be too shaky for all the wind that's happening.
Oh, that's Jonathan Richard.
Well, Celine, you really want to go to Manhattan. I hope you do. George, you do temporarily, but then you'll be able to give it to me directly. The best way to contribute to the show without giving any other platform money is PayPal. PayPal.me/Ariel Vera. And look at that. There we go. We have downtown Manhattan. We're getting close to the Empire State Building. I mean, to the Statue of Liberty. Jane, you've done the Circle Line twice and love it from Britain. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in from the UK. There we're seeing the Freedom Tower, 1,776 feet tall. Seeing a wonderful array of downtown Manhattan's buildings. The Woolworth peeking there in the background with the green top.
At New York City Athletic Club.
Jane, you've done the Circle Line twice. This is the first time I've done the Circle Line. Though I've been around Manhattan before using the fireboat, which I did a live video of 2 years ago, but it was a very different route. I've gone to also Hornblower, which do cool tours. They're private ones. I did one with B&H. So I've done a few videos on Manhattan by boat, but it's so cool that you've been on the Circle Line twice. The only time you've been to New Jersey is when you get out of the cruise ship and head straight to New York. Yeah, okay. What's the stop in Jersey? I think it's Bayonne, if I'm correct. What's the weather? The temperature is very nice today. I think it might be 78 degrees, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. George, what's a fireboat? Fireboat is it's a boat that used to belong to the that either belongs to the fire department or belongs to a company to put out fires. So they have a huge hose on the boat, and they also have ladders. So yeah, that's a fireboat. Just a boat with a lot of hoses. And there's people there on the boat. Lots of sailboats around here. And here we're passing by. Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna quiz all of you. Why was I one of them? Well, George, I was putting out a fire.
Like some kind of party.
No, I wasn't putting out a fire. I was invited there. I reached out to them and they invited me over to do a live video. They were very cool. That video was about almost 3 years ago, so you can check it out. Search Urbanist Fireboat. Governor's Island, ooh, close, George. We're gonna see that soon. It's not Governor's Island. It's an island where more than 70 million people can trace their ancestry through. It accepted millions of immigrants throughout the late 1800s, early 1900s. Ellis Island, that's correct, Deb. Yep, it's Ellis Island. Let's zoom in. I'm gonna sit down for this. I've done videos of Ellis Island before. Really great place to visit for learning about history of New York City's diversity and also basically the immigrants that built America. And here we're approaching the Statue of Liberty. Cue the triumphant American marching band music. Ooh, what fun, says Catherine. I've taken it twice with out-of-town visitors, once by myself. Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm glad you visited before. Here, we're passing across the Statue of Liberty, built by Bartoli, who was a French sculptor, and the engineer who made the steel framework inside was Ellis. Sorry, not Ellis. Eiffel. So Eiffel actually built a steel skeleton inside here before he built his tower in Paris, France. It was because of his fame from the Statue of Liberty that they end up giving him money to build the tower for the exposition that happened in Paris in 1899.
When I was a kid, my father took us up to the crown of the Statue of Liberty. I don't know if you can go up there anymore. And the
There it is.
Torch.
Donald, last month you saw Ken Burns' 186 documentary about the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, Ken Burns' documentaries are very, very informative. I saw his brother Rick Burns did an amazing documentary in New York, and I absolutely enjoyed it. So the base is actually larger and more expensive than the statue. The statue was built by the French, but the base, the pedestal, was built by Americans, and it actually cost more money to build the base. And it is a multi-pointed star. How many stars? Points? Let me know in the comments.
Structure at the base.
Do they take precautions of people on the boats? No, they don't. Not so much. Not so much.
Yeah, and Declaration of Independence is not long either.
Well, look at that. We're seeing the Statue of Liberty right straight in front. Let's zoom in. Right there. Yep, that's right. Pulitzer put a huge ad on the New York World newspaper to raise funding for the pedestal. People would be able to put their name for $1 on the newspaper. Thank you for letting us know, George, and remind me. Everything is more expensive in New York City. It really is. Here we're seeing more of New Jersey. Lots of ports here in New Jersey. New York City is not so port-centric anymore. Jersey is the one in this area of the United States. There's Staten Island. Is the Statue of Liberty open for tours? Yes, you can visit the Statue of Liberty, walk around it, but not inside. Only on the outside right now, currently. Sandra, thank you so much for the stars. Okay, the boat is slowly turning, and here we see Governor's Island, which I think we'll get a slightly closer look soon. Can you see the golf course in New Jersey? I don't think so. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Let us know, John. Wave at the North Sailboat. So cool. Thank you, Sandra, Karen, George, for the stars. I really appreciate it. Let's continue. Rosalind, where are we going? So we're not going really anywhere. The point of the trip is to go around the island of Manhattan. So this is not like the ferry. It doesn't go somewhere. It starts and stops on the same place, which is 42nd Street on the west side of Manhattan. So 42nd and 12th. And it goes around the island of Manhattan. So I'll show it all of you. Actually, never mind. There, no. Catherine, you say Governor's Island is a wonderful place to visit. I agree, Catherine. I agree.
What? That's Greenwich Cemetery or Sunset Park? No, Sunset Park sounds right. That's Greenwich Cemetery. Pretty sure that's...
Right down there is Red Hook. We see the old fort at Red Hook, and then behind it is, we see Greenwood Cemetery and we see Sunset Park. Continue going down that way, we'll reach Bay Ridge, which I did last week. It reminds me of the musical West Side Story from the song America. Oh, I love that song, America. It's one of my favorite musicals. I would put it in my top 5 musicals of all time. And they say in the song, I like the Isle of Manhattan. Smoke on your pipe and put that in. Thank you for the quote, Donald. Curious that he's going so far into the Battery. You would think he would stay closer to Lady Liberty. I think there's a certain distance limitation for tourist boats that are not state cruises to pass by the Statue of Liberty. And also, I briefly have seen the nautical maps of New York City, and there seems to be predetermined routes also that you can go on. Hello, Faraz. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am being safe. Right there, we see one of the tallest man-made hills in all of the United States of America. Those man-made hills house one of the tallest slides in New York City. I think one of the tallest slides in all of the U.S. What beach color boat is that? So the peach colored boat that we saw is the Staten Island Ferry. And that ferry is a free ferry that goes between the very tip of Manhattan, very southern tip of Manhattan, all the way to St. George's Terminal in Staten Island.
Governor's Island was a private reserve for an early discovery of Amsterdam. It had a big military base.
When was that hill made and why? You know, one of my first live videos was actually about that hill. And it was made about 4 years ago, a little bit more than 4 years ago. And the reason it was made in order to stop the rush of water during tropical storms or hurricanes. That's its main use, because Governor's Island, if you notice, it's very low level, so it can easily get flooded. This used to be a prison, and all of Governor's Island was a massive Coast Army military base, Coast Guard military base. The cheapest way to experience New York City by water is the Staten Island Ferry, which is free. That's right, John. The second would be to go on the East River, the New York City Ferry, which goes along the East River. It's $2.75. And then you're looking more at the cruises beyond that. This one was $34, cost me. Right there we have the ventilation for the Battery Tunnel, I mean. We have the old buildings for the Coast Guard that used to be here for many, many decades. Lots of cool architecture there. I might be doing a live video there soon. Stay tuned. Hello, Suzanne, welcome. Hello, Janet from Netherlands, welcome. You love my show, I'm so glad you do.
That's the old immigration hall. there before it started at Ellis.
Have I done a video of Governor's Island? Yes, I did a live video here 3 years ago also. And I covered a good portion of its history. And I also did a video of the Jazz Festival. So I've done a few videos inside there. Search Governor's Island Urbanist on Facebook and you'll see it. You saw a whale at the Staten Island Ferry. The captain announced it and pointed where it was. Oh, John, wow, that must be a rare sighting. Not that many whales sighted here on the New York Harbor. So cool. Marcos, you're watching from Silicon Valley. Thank you so much for tuning in, Marcos. So right here we have more ports along Brooklyn. We're seeing Columbia Heights. Behind us, Cobble Hill. Right here we have the Brooklyn Bridge Park. One of the most beautiful parks in all of New York City, in my opinion. The water's cleaner. It is, yeah. Right there is the terminal for Staten Island Ferry, and then we have the terminal for the Governor's Island Ferry.
Brooklyn is on the western coast of Long Island. Long Island is 131 miles long. So on the waterfront there, you can Brooklyn is green. On the Manhattan left side waterfront, you have to take downtown California.
Hey Elias, nice to see you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Donald, you love Brooklyn Bridge Park too? Yeah, it's gorgeous. Right behind it we have the BQE. And since I've been lingering and visiting waterfronts much more often this summer, I find it so amusing that we have a flow of cars along the waterfront. It's kind of pleasant looking as you look at it from a distance. You see this kind of constant flow of vehicles passing all along the edges of our city. How long to get to Staten Island on the ferry? It's only, I think, less than 20 minutes, maybe 15, around there, I think. If anyone knows exactly the time, let me know. But it's around 15, I think. John says 40. Is it really 40 minutes? I don't know, let me know. For me, it goes by so quickly, but let me know exactly what's the trip from Staten Island to Manhattan. Elizabeth, you say, I visited my brother-in-law when he was stationed in Governor's Island while in the Coast Guard. It was the early 80s, and I remember looking across the water at the Twin Towers. So cool that you managed to visit Governor's Island before it opened up as a tourist destination. Is that Brooklyn Bridge Park post my years in New York City? So Brooklyn Bridge Park was constructed in the past 15 years or so. Most of it is very new. Most of it was only opened about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So yes, it's new. It used to be just abandoned port for about 2 decades. Most of it was abandoned. And you'll see it in a few movies of the 90s. Here we see the promenade. Yes, that's the promenade, Kay. Oh, George, that's the promenade. Donna, do I have a Facebook page? It's Urbanist Live. You're seeing it right now. This is my Facebook page. If you're referring to my profile, you can follow me on Ariel Vera, but I do not accept friend requests. But you can feel free to follow me. I post personal writings there. Here we have the Grand Brooklyn Bridge, 1883. Oh, look at that. Wow. Where's Dumbo? Dumbo is right there. That's Dumbo. Down under the Manhattan Bridge overpass. Wow. It's great to see the Jane carousel here. Yeah, it is. It's an awesome carousel. It's this one right here. It looks like a jewel box. Why is the sail flag half-mast down? I'm not entirely sure. Good question. I don't know. I love riding on boats and ferries, though I don't know too much, admittedly, about the specifics of boats. Here's Dumbo. Dumbo is now very popular for its waterfront. Even more so with the introduction of the Time Out food market inside this building right over here. And things have changed because Dumbo was a tourist destination 5 years ago, but not as popular as it is now. Do they use that thing to check the underside of the bridge? Oh, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Sarah. Paula, you've been with Darren on the Full Circle line in 05 and 08. Oh, you saw New York when it was very different. And then the Sunset Cruise on 2013. On our wedding day. Oh, wow, you took the Sunset Cruise on your wedding day. That's a perfect idea. Right here we have the Manhattan Bridge. In my opinion, it's one of my favorite looking bridges in New York. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite bridge of New York? That one was built in 1907, and it unleashed a huge amount of people traveling from Lower East Side to all through Brooklyn. Here we see the electrical plant along Dumbo. Behind it, we have a very secretive neighborhood, which we're actually going to see now. It's called Vinegar Hill. We'll see you soon. Let me turn the camera and show you more of Manhattan. Here's people on the ferry. Let's wave. Here we have the new high-rise residential building that's along the Manhattan Bridge. The first of the high-rises to pop up all along this
Public housing buildings in the city.
area, which is not very well developed yet, aside from its project, affordable housing that was built here in the 1960s, 1950s.
Well, you know, it's computers allow you to get away with all kinds of shit. Just like you know, drawing. You can get away with a lot of shit now that, you know, people couldn't do back in the day.
The kind of work that you have to do these days is very different.
Well, you know, when I was working for Dan Bond making copies now, so this is before you're born, this is like in the early 90s, one of the places that we did big copy work for was an actual old school draftsman shop. You know, with, you know, Leonard lettering and, you know, all the sliding, like that.
Sylvina, thank you so much for tuning in. And Donald, the Brooklyn Bridge is a close second. And happy to travel along, Kathy. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Water to pour money into.
Indeed, Donald, indeed.
During the war, over 75,000 people worked around the clock.
Well, you go to Chris Manovich's thing, it goes, homepage, it goes, this is my boat, you click on it.
Okay, here we see
That he and Jeff go
a
whitewater.
little bit of Vinegar Hill. Vinegar Hill is so hard to spot from the water. I highly recommend going to that tiny little neighborhood.
But the real boat,
What's the building called along the Manhattan Bridge? You know, the name is escaping me right now. It doesn't have an interesting name. If anyone knows the address, I think that's the name is the address. Let me know in the comments. Here we have the third great bridge of New York City, the Williamsburg Bridge. It was built in 1903, and it was also nicknamed the Jews' Highway. The reason for that is Lower East Side was completely packed to the brim with Eastern European immigrants, most of them of the Jewish faith, and they started going across the Williamsburg Bridge in droves to find better housing along Brooklyn. And then as you follow a line of Williamsburg, specifically on Bedford Avenue, you follow the Jewish population that lives here, which is the largest one outside of Israel. Why the name Vinegar Hill? The name Vinegar Hill comes from a battle that happened in Ireland. It was because there was a lot of Irish immigrants initially to the area of Vinegar Hill. They were people who worked in the manufacturing factories and also the ports and the storage places all along Dumbo. So Dumbo used to be the center of coffee production, for example. Most of America's coffee in the late 1800s was produced in Dumbo. Here we have, oh, look at that, the Williamsburg Bridge. This one, in my opinion, is not so pretty, but let me know your thoughts on it. I find it so pretty because they start going more basic. I assume they want to save some money.
That's the old factory coming down on the waterfront,
that's
right?
Domino.
Now the one building that's still standing.
So here we have Domino Sugar Factory, which is being converted into a high-rise apartment building. However, the facade is being preserved. So we're looking at the views of Williamsburg. Domino Park is also a really great waterfront park, the one we're facing right now. Looks like Tinker Toys, says Jim. Delia, my tours inspire you to travel. I'm so glad they do. Wow. You know, it's cool taking the Circle Line because we're going a bit slower.
Used to go there to buy used clothes. And the biggest thing was all the theater people used to go there. I need 14 pairs of pants. It doesn't matter if the colors match exactly. I just need them, you know. You see them.
I like the fact that there's many different styles of bridges. I agree, Donald. It's very nice to see different aesthetic bridges here in New York City. The only other city I think that could compare is London. It has a nice array of different bridges, but they're nowhere near as huge. Cindy, thank you so much for the stars. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Cindy, for the stars. Stars help me go on places like this to show you via live video, like the like the Circle Line cruises. Let me know if anyone has any questions. What is that bluffing with the whole? Oh, that building with the hole in it, Jim, is a high-rise residential building. The name is called 10 Grand Street. Susan, thank you so much for the stars. Here we're seeing more high-rises along Williamsburg. Williamsburg is a massive neighborhood. We're just seeing basically North Williamsburg. Wow, that new building by the old Domino Sugar Factory looks interesting, Max. Yes, it does. A lot of interesting architecture popping up in Williamsburg. Williamsburg is if you're not the top level architect making buildings along the High Line, if you're anything below that, you're making buildings in Williamsburg. And it's because Williamsburg, after the High Line, is the place to make new architecture. What is that white tower in Williamsburg? That one was 10 grand, which we saw. Right over here we have Greenpoint. Great neighborhood that is similar to Williamsburg in terms of culture and style. However, it's not nowhere near as popular yet.
If it was in the original, which is how it got that name. In 1890, when the building was finished, it did not have that big triangle rooftop. The rooftop then was flat, hung over the edge of the building. It's a beautiful garden.
Debbie, you're having your cuppa while watching me. Oh, good morning, Debbie. Thank you so much for tuning in. From NZ, right? New Zealand. Look at that, everyone. Whoa. New York City by water. Just gorgeous.
Empire State pretty obvious again. The tower on top. Now the United Nations is over 1 mile away. Across the Glasgow, the United Nations School. On the waterfront, on the other left hand, just past the region of the white roads. Little buildings, big white bubble in the sunlight. That's the UN School, 140. Right now. So here, Madison Square.
So right here we're seeing One Vanderbilt. That is also going to have an observation deck. I think it's also outdoors. And it's going to be taller than 30 Hudson yards. So it's going to be a very interesting building when it opens up. Cindy, you're so incredibly jealous. I'm glad I could show it to you while live video. Kevin, you feel like you're almost here. Almost. Thank you. I'm glad you do.
No, because he already lived in a mansion.
Two white barges on the waterfront.
So I told you, what state did a woman probably found her through the Village Voice ads?
On this side of it.
Hey Cindy, you say thank you so much for sharing. Seen so much of your video through your videos. Much appreciated. My pleasure, Cindy. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that comment and all the stars.
The red building is Bellevue Hospital. The oldest hospital in North America on the line now with the back there.
Also here we have something interesting. We'll pass it soon. So you see this building over here. Let me zoom in. This building was made with landfill, but that landfill did not come. It was brought over by a ship during, I think it was World War II, if I'm correct, from Bristol, England. So that apartment complex we see right there in the brown, that is a little piece of Bristol in New York. Bristol, England. How many years have you been doing Urbanist? 3.5 years. Soon it'll be 4. Well, here we have Long Island City. And Long Island City is one of the fastest growing neighborhoods in all of New York. and it has an amazing waterfront park right along here. This is Hunters Point Park South. Highly recommend coming here. I did a live video of it a few days ago. How much does it cost? I paid $34 today. I think they do change the prices, but luckily I paid $34 today. I think it's because of the off season. I think they go as high as 40 something, or maybe even more. I remember coming here last year and it was an obscene price. I mean, I think I saw 60 something dollars, and I thought to myself, that's way too much. However, since I'm sharing it with all of you, I think it's 100% worth it. I don't understand Long Island City. What does that mean? Okay, so Debbie, this is the neighborhood of Long Island City. That's the name of the neighborhood. It's not an actual city, it's just the neighborhood. The reason it's called Long Island City was because they initially intended it to become a city. That was before New York City consolidated in 1898. It's called Long Island City after the island it's on. So this entire island, Queens, Brooklyn, Nassau County, and Suffolk County, is all the island of Long Island. I hope that clears things up. Things could get very confusing, I understand, when it comes to Long Island. So Long Island City is on the island of Long Island, but it is not Long Island. Long Island is what people refer to as Nassau County and Suffolk County. I'll use my handy dandy map that I've used many times before, because I know the differences could be very confusing. So there we go. Long Island is Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. Yeah. So there's Long Island City, there's the island of Long Island, and then there's what people colloquially just call Long Island. DP, did I miss you at the edge? No, I did not do the edge yet. All right, here we're coming across Roosevelt Island. We'll see that soon. And here we have U-Thant Island. U-Thant Island has a Buddhist ceremonial tree on it, a shrine, in honor of an Indonesian director of the UN who was a Buddhist believer. And this is highly illegal to step foot on. And the reason is it is guarded by the Coast Guard. If you get caught there, you will be arrested for trespassing, and it's because it's a bird sanctuary. Now, why does this island even exist? It's actually not natural. It was formed out of the what was left over from the bedrock when they were constructing the Belmont tunnels. There are tunnels right underneath us right now in the water that connect the subway of Queens to the subway of Manhattan. Yeah, Helena, yes, Long Island City is in the borough of Queens.
That's the Clover sign on the water in Queens on the right. That is
Here we have the UN building. Could you swim in the Hudson River? Technically, no. I don't think anyone will recommend you swimming along the Hudson, unless if you are professional and you're doing it for some specific reason. And there's a few events where people do swim it. If anyone knows what those events are, let me know in the comments.
So the buildings in Times Square.
Here we have the UN complex. Now, the UN is technically sovereign land. I'm using the word technically because things can get very convoluted when you look at the exact determination whether Americans have jurisdiction on it or not. But as far as I know, America, if you step foot on the United Nations territory, you are in a different country. You are on sovereign land that doesn't belong to any specific country, but belongs to the UN. Here we have the new views along 57th Street. Actually, we're not at 57th Street yet. No, not 57th Street yet. So here we have a few new high-rises.
This is the old psychiatric hospital.
Smallpox vaccine.
And I love the buildings here. Kramer swam on the Hudson. Oh, from Seinfeld, yeah. Oh, here's a really close view of Roosevelt Island. Right over here we have the smallpox hospital. ruins here in the middle of New York City on Roosevelt Island, and this smallpox hospital, over 30,000 people, 300,000 people died due to smallpox epidemic that plagued humanity for centuries until a vaccine was made in the early 1900s. And this is the rest of Roosevelt Island. You can't really swim, but there's organized rowing. Yes, that is true. Look at that, everyone. We're very close. You can't get this perspective on the ferry because you're a bit farther away, and the ferry goes much quicker. The ending of Spider-Man took place here. Yes, it did. Yeah, you're right, Brandon. Spider-Man was shot here. And there's also another scene. So here is where the end of Spider-Man took place. He was fighting the Green Goblin, trying to save kids, taking the tram along the Queensboro Bridge, which is also known as the 59th Street Bridge, if you're familiar with the amazing song by Simon and Garfunkel. It's also called Feeling Groovy. And it's also called the Egg Koch Bridge. Officially, it's called the Egg Koch Bridge. However, that's very controversial with New Yorkers. The other thing that took place here was also in Spider-Man Homecoming, where they're taking a bus along the Queensboro Bridge, and Spider-Man has to leave the bus to save New York City. Sorry, I'm getting the movie wrong. I think it's Avengers Endgame. That's the one. Avengers Endgame. He gets out of the school bus here, Spider-Man, and goes to Greenwich Village to join up with Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. So Queensboro Bridge has 4 towers as opposed to 2, unlike the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. Wow. And this is the new city planned by Philip Johnson back in the 1960s. Philip Johnson was one of the most famous architects in history in the 1900s. This period, people knew him all around the world. And he envisioned a utopian city in the middle of New York. Never quite got there, unfortunately. But I do love the architecture. Lots of glass and brick. Cool combination.
University. Now, you probably haven't heard of Rockefeller, but nonetheless you will.
Brandon, yes, Avengers Endgame. Sometimes those, a lot of, they use the same locations in a lot of these movies.
Sapolsky went there. That's where, that's like it's like the Harvard of postgrad.
So here we have the super skinny skyscrapers that are popping up all along
over here on Riverside Island on the
57th
right.
Street.
The city of New York bought the island from a family. They bought it north of New York near the 1800s.
The southern island of Roosevelt Island is a monument to FDR. It is. How long is the island of Manhattan?
Through the trees.
Violet, great question. I don't know off the top of my head. If anyone knows what is the length of Manhattan in miles, let me know. I actually don't know. It has about 200 streets.
Now we normally have around 600,000 college students now. Rockefeller, one of the universities here, joining it and just passed it up here on the waterfront.
What's going on in NYU this fall? Walk around. Usually it's always fun to walk around.
So the roadway we're seeing on the bottom is the Franklin Delano Roosevelt Drive. Henrik, thank you so much for commenting. You say it's 20 kilometers.
Now the wing, the newest wing.
Thank you. Around 20 kilometers. If anyone knows that in miles, let me know in the comments. That's one fact, I never bothered remembering. Rarely ever talk about the size of the city. John is asking what's the cheapest thing in New York? $1 pizza. That's correct, Mike. Look at this building, right? Highway running right through it. This is the Hospital for Special Surgery. Actually, this one is. This one is the hospital. Helene, you say Manhattan is 13.4 miles long. Are you close to the Mario Cuomo Bridge? No, Petrin. We're much farther away. If we were to go to the Mario Cuomo Bridge by boat, I think we would take about 40 minutes around there. I think by car it's about 40 minutes as well. So yeah, we're pretty far away. By car it'll be longer. It'll be about an hour.
This is an industrial town. So in 1855, the next year, City Council President Council Member Jones made a proposition to him. He said, hey, we're going to stop your park. But
The other
we're going to build a second park in your name. You'll be the first man in the history of New York City to have two parks named for you. Other park is going to be to the west in the middle of the island. Jones saw the park in the middle of the island with no view was a crazy idea, so he took his name off the legislation. That's how we got Central Park. The most popular park in town. Central Park is one of the people with nobody's name on it. Nobody wanted to claim it. We need a big park, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to go there?
Nobody called it Prospect.
Last year the answer was 42
Nobody called Prospect Park.
that we know of.
They say Central Park was never named
Most
after
popular park
Well,
in
maybe it was
town.
Prospect Park.
Jones Park, but Jones Park is here instead. Jones thought it was not a good idea. We're heading to the top of the East River.
So
and
that building we're seeing is a huge power station, or was,
John Lennon lived in the Dakota building.
for the Edison Electric Company, which later became General Electric.
We're headed down
First buildings built there.
north on the East River.
I think it's owned by Con Edison probably right now.
Like going to North
We'll see you up there.
So here we're passing by the Upper East Side, and then soon we're going to see the Carl Schurz Park on Yorkville. However, here on the Roosevelt Island side is a cool little landmark. It's a boat that is installed, the hull of the boat installed on the waterfront. Sarah says the action kid walked the Mario Cuomo Bridge a few weeks ago. He said he will not do it again. I can imagine. It's probably not the funnest walk. It's a fun drive, not a fun walk. DP says the Mario is 15 minutes away north of the GWB. Thank you so much for letting us know, DP.
I mean, you can listen to Wings and you can go, yeah, well.
So here we passed 52nd Street.
You ever listen to the big hits by Badfinger? Everything you wanted, here it is, come and get it.
Cindy, what would I research next about New York? Great question.
And the stone lighthouse up ahead on the
I'm curious more about the architecture and the infrastructure, though nothing specific.
But back in the year 1799, a wealthy shipping merchant by the name of Archibald Tracy built a
Here
now
we have the haunted lighthouse at the end of Roosevelt Island, or the northern end of Roosevelt Island. Apparently, one of the inmates at the mental institution built this, or wanted to build it. He insisted on building a lighthouse to protect the island of Roosevelt Island from the British, even though it was already the late 1800s and the British would never, ever attack. Here we also have the Socrates Sculpture Garden. Should be right there, yeah. Yeah, there it is. In the distance we see this pyramid. That is the Socrates Sculpture Garden, which we visited a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. We used to walk over from Queens onto Roosevelt Island in the 70s just for a change of scenery. Yeah, Helena, it's really worth it.
That's a garbage collection here. Manhattan produces about 25 tons of garbage every minute, every hour, every day. Nothing stays on Manhattan, it's all away.
So here we have Carl Schurz Park,
Now we will not go to
which I've covered many times, but hidden in the trees of Carl Schurz Park is Gracie Mansion, where the mayor lives. He's been living. Mayor has been living here since Figueroa LaGuardia in the 1940s.
The second one over.
Mayor Bloomberg was the only one who decided not to live here because he already had a way better apartment in Billionaires Row. Or I think it was in 72nd Street.
Bridge over on the right-hand side. It should be. That's a prototype. In the year 1917, the longest span on Earth was the Red Bridge in New York City Railway Bridge, that's on the right-hand side. Sydney Harbor Commission came here to study the bridge.
So we're seeing more of Queens, and that is the RFK Triborough Bridge, named after Robert F. Kennedy, the brother of John F. Kennedy. And behind it we have the Hellgate Bridge in red, the inspiration for the Sydney Harbor Bridge.
No water here at all. The water has come on a long, slow process of time and pressure and ice, lots of ice. On 5 occasions from the north ahead of us, we have had a sheet of ice more than a mile tall over the top as it does come slowly over us. It picks up bits of thousands of little stones like these on the near left. These stones are going to be trapped in the ice. They're going to become cutting tools, and if you know what to look for, you can easily tell the ice age from the sea. Every bit of rock around Manhattan is parallel cuts here.
Does Mayor have bodyguards? He should. He should. I think he might have a private NYPD security service. I'm not entirely sure, but he definitely does have bodyguards.
You're riding over where it used to be. Every bit of rock wonder here riding over what used to be very light rock.
David says you will eventually pass under the Willis Avenue Bridge. It was replaced a few years ago. My grandfather was a machinist from the 1930s till sometime in the 50s, and I think he created parts for the train steam engines and tugboats. I was shocked when I took the Circle Line tour years ago and found that there were a lot more trees and looked up there more natural than that in the northern tip of Manhattan. Yeah, there's a lot of trees here, and Randall Island is looking much more beautiful. So let me know which one's the Willis Bridge. Can you ever really learn where places and most everything is located in New York City? Yeah, you can. It really helps walking, or at least taking a bike, because if you do car or just always go on subway, you won't really get a sense of New York City's geography that quickly. But if you do walk, then you'll really know which way you're going. So I would recommend walking. This is a pedestrian bridge that connects Manhattan and Randall Island. There's a really cool, well, I'm saying Randall Island because there is actually a combination of 2 islands. They've been united by landfill. And here they have the Governor's Island Music Festival every single June. This is a really awesome bridge to walk over at night. Jenny, thank you so much for tuning in from YouTube. Petrine, I'm not sure which one is the Willis. Let me know in the comments which one is the Willis Bridge.
Pedestrian bridge. One of the requirements when the Brooklyn Bridge was built, there you go. One of the requirements when the Brooklyn Bridge was built, that it had to be high enough off the water that the tallest, Navy ships could get through.
Cindy, you walk everywhere when in London. It drives me crazy. Oh, why does it drive me crazy? I loved walking in London. It's very confusing. That is definitely true. You won't get a sense of London that quickly.
New Harlem was the Dutch trading town. Stood here about 10 miles north of Amsterdam back in the 1600s. Harlem
This is a mental institution.
New York City.
It was very controversial in the 1980s.
Up ahead here, level past the school. Cupola is a big indoor shopping mall. It is the first
One of the oldest public schools are also here. Looks like the Federal Hall from Philadelphia.
First of all,
Hey, Gabriel de Santiago, gracias por mirando. Y está mirando en español, pues pregúntame cualquier cosa en español también. If you're watching in Spanish, I also am fluent in Spanish.
Randall, the store next door can sell a lot cheaper than U-Thant. This is different though. This was a huge vacant lot. The city had knocked down all the buildings but burned out the old factory. So the
Cindy
guy who
says
built
drives
the
your
shopping
kids
mall
crazy.
is doing very well. He doesn't have to buy
I can
any
imagine.
land. He just leases it at very low cost. And he also does not have to knock down any buildings. They're already gone. So it costs
If you would like to see a tour of Randall Island, let me know. Seems like a interesting place to visit potentially.
We just cleared another hospital in Greenwich Village.
Henrik, do I know Swedish? No, I wish I knew Swedish. I don't. Debbie, your city was destroyed in an earthquake, so don't have too many tall buildings and history in New Zealand. Well, sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's the issue in some of these earthquake-prone cities. I know something similar happened to Portugal and lost most of its 1,000-year-old architecture. Do you know the name of the mental institution? I'm not entirely sure. If anyone does, let me know in the comments. Gabriele, próxima pregunta. Esto conecta a Harlem. Esto sí conecta a Harlem, de Queens a Harlem. Yes, this is the bridge that connects Harlem to Queens. So we're passing right by Spanish Harlem. El barrio, la parte de Harlem de muchos hispanos, específicamente puertorriqueños. A lot of Puerto Ricans grew up here in Spanish Harlem. New Yorkers. Brandon, you say please do a live video from Randall Island. I'm actually not familiar with it at all. It looks like a gorgeous park, so that might be on the list very soon.
Yeah, I really kind of consider that when we moved to Florida in '73, like a birthright was taken away from us. Yeah.
I think this is the Macombs Bridge. Is it? No, it's not. This is the Triborough Bridge. It's one of the Triborough bridges.
This big Triborough Bridge we're coming to is one of 20 bridges that we'll go under before we finish the cruise. Most of the bridges, most of the 20, we haven't even gotten to yet. We haven't even seen them. They're much lower than the one ahead of us. And they're here for rather obscure reasons. You don't even think about it. But if you buy anything...
So this bridge opens up 55 feet.
Chances are less than 1/2 of 1%.
Lori, thank you so much for the stars. Wow.
That's not true with the rest of the country. Most of it is by train, but not here. Manhattan's an island. Come to think of it, if you gotta bring goods in by train, you gotta build another tunnel.
Gabriel, gracias por mirando por Google Maps también. Thank you so much for following me on Google Maps. That's a great way to follow along.
Every night by the trucks bringing goods into Manhattan. We're just clearing into the Bronx, the mainland of our country here.
The Bronx.
Waterways.
Not Bronx.
Randall's Island.
It's the Bronx. That's the official name of the borough.
From the Bronx to the mainland, over to Manhattan Island. Because here the Willis Avenue Bridge, the Greenpoint.
Here's Willis Avenue Bridge.
So you get lower, and let's see this upriver.
David, wow, I'm shocked that they replaced the entire bridge. It has a very beautiful coat of paint on it. It's brown, but it is a very clean brown, which I haven't really seen in New York. Catherine, that is a great question. Manhattan has Manhattan schists all around? Yes, there's a very strong bedrock in Manhattan, more than a city like London, which is very strong rock, and that's how they have high buildings. It's a myth mostly that the village can build high buildings because of its lack of schist. However, that is not really the case. The reason the middle Manhattan does not have high buildings, Lower East Side, East Village, Flatiron, is because traditionally, back in the boom of skyscrapers in the early 1900s, that area was one of the poorest areas of Manhattan. It was filled with tenements. And it was much easier to buy empty land in Midtown Manhattan than to buy out a bunch of tenements and kick out hundreds or even thousands of people crowding these tenements, and mostly immigrants working in nearby manufacturing and garment districts. So the Skyline started growing in downtown Manhattan, but once they ran out of space, they utilized the subway system, which used 42nd Street as its hub, and decided to start moving buildings to Midtown. That's why. So not fully because of the schist, and that's being exemplified with the new skyscrapers that are popping up along that area, as we saw a few of them. Will I be near the cloisters? Yes, we're going to pass by the cloisters once we go around the island of Manhattan. So we're still on the east side of Manhattan, and we're seeing the Bronx and this high-rise architecture in the Bronx. Wow. So apartment buildings are popping up in its waterfront. And there's a train line here. Interesting. What train is this? Let me know in the comments. What train is this?
Well, Brian is so fucked up now, I can't even talk to him. Like, can you send me that CD down? I don't know where it is, somewhere. But now
So this should be Soundview Bronx, if I'm correct. And this is growing quickly, trying to at least, to be a high-end area like Williamsburg or Long Island City. Deb lost connection due to a storm. That's okay. Can't watch again later. Well, Deb, I hope you're okay in the storm.
Which was the last city to be evacuated?
Janice, no worries. We're soon going to pass your neighborhood, Inwood.
It was the last place to be evacuated to Auschwitz. Most of the people back then, you know, like, I don't know how long she was in Auschwitz before it was liberated.
It's a railway bridge. No?
It's really interesting.
Whoa. So cool.
Yeah, well, I know, Ray Betty, she didn't die in Auschwitz.
Metro North. Ooh, that line is the Metro North. Interesting.
No direct answer.
Here we have the New York City. Oh, this is the Metro North right there. This is. Raul, you're watching from India. Thank you so much for tuning in, Raul. Hope you get to visit New York City soon. It's a beautiful area. Lots of Indians in New York as well. Go to 74th Street in Queens if you're curious about the Indian neighborhood. Deb says that looked close. It did. It did. That bridge did look close. Sylvina, is that the Madison Avenue Bridge? I don't know the name of that bridge. Once you go beyond Queensboro, names get a little bit, I don't know all of them. They're not so well used by people who live in Queens, for example. Tell me about the Frog's Neck. It's called the Frog's Neck with a T, and I don't think we'll be able to see it from this vantage point, but that connects Queens and the Bronx. That's how I get to the city, Metro North. I'm a bit leery due to the virus to go on the train. David, likewise, I haven't taken the train since March. I'm okay with taking ferry since it's open air.
Oh yeah, there's Yankee Stadium.
Too much sun this way. Let's point it forward. Someone's waving.
Yeah, it's really the fourth Yankee Stadium. No, yes.
Well,
It was the second Yankee post house building, and then they took over the park.
Janice, I to see the small lighthouses on the Bronx side. I've shown the one in front of City Island. So search City Island on Urbanist, and it's wonderful. Oh, you worked for New York City Uber taxi from India. Oh, cool. I'm glad. Someone's having a birthday party there. Here's Yankee Stadium. We're coming up upon it. Which one is it? Which one is it? Soon. Not yet.
No flags are flying above the stadium today, so that means there's not a ball game there. Down in Florida.
There it is. Yankee Stadium. Yankees is one of the two main baseball teams of New York City, the other one being the Mets, and based in Queens. Let me know, are you Mets or Yankees? Have I been to baseball games myself? I've only been once to Yankee Stadium, and it was the old Yankee Stadium, and that was when I was a young kid. I saw, I think, the Yankees playing the Rangers. And then I've been to Shea Stadium a few times, the older one, in Queens, and I've been to Citi Field, I think, twice. It was fun going both times. I'm not too into baseball, so to be honest, I didn't care too much about the game. However, watching a baseball game at night with Shake Shack inside the stadium, I think it's an awesome experience. If you're coming to New York City, it's a cool experience to just have fun, especially if you can get lower cost tickets. Tickets I got were like $12. This is the McCombs Bridge. Here's the McCombs Bridge. Thank you for letting us know, Henrik. Donald says neither. Neither for Yankees or Mets. Justine says, let's go Mets. How long is this tour? 2.5 hours. So we still got an hour left, which is cool. More of the Bronx. We'll see more of Manhattan soon. You are passing by a very important landmark. Stay tuned. Let me know if you recognize this in the comments. Right there. What's the status of Corona in Manhattan? Things are getting better in New York. Is its lowest level since March.
He destroyed his body with hot dogs and alcohol, of course. You know, as he got older, but he was a great athlete.
No team of players combined. 15 years. This guy is 54 on his own.
Right there is a little lighthouse to your right.
You know, nowadays the training.
Which one are you referring to? Show you more from the back.
Burn steroids.
Hope you don't burn easily. No, Deb. I don't burn too easily. I'm covered in suntan lotion. Don't worry. Catherine, that is correct. That is the high tower on the high bridge. That used to be a water reservoir that connected to the Croton Reservoir up in upstate New York. So that was the initial bridge that brought water to New York City in mass, helping New York City grow. Because otherwise, if it wasn't for this bridge, which is the oldest in the whole of New York, we wouldn't have water. We wouldn't have grown so quickly. So right here, the oldest bridge in New York City. We'll see it close soon. So we're passing right now the neighborhood of Washington Heights.
And the low cream-colored building here on our near right, this is a repair shop for the commuter railway line. First of three big
So we see the Manhattan Chest right there.
Now the big tower, and that's what it is on the hilltop in Manhattan on the left.
And I have done a video of the high bridge history.
Water. We'll see when we get to the bridge. First of three big ones.
And I think soon we might be passing by the steps of Joker, which I think is those ones over there. So since this is the oldest bridge in all of New York, when it was initially built in the 1850s, if I'm correct, it was one of the top tourist attractions in New York City. So much so that there was a road that encircled this area of Manhattan so people could ride via horse and carriage on kind of proto-tour buses. Edgar Allan Poe walked on the High Bridge. Oh, George. Was it referenced in the story? Let me know. They actually took some of the vaults so bigger ships could fit through. Yes. So the vaulting, and it was also crumbling. It was in bad state for quite a while.
This is a bridge from the year 1842.
1842.
And
That's the
1842,
date.
this bridge changed the health of the city of New York very quickly. Before 1842, you probably going to get sick drinking water. Now, now we've got a freshwater reservoir called the Grove River Reservoir, and the bridge pushed the water over the from the reservoir to the pumping station.
It's currently a pedestrian bridge.
U.S. Highway number 1, as number implies, Highway 1 was the very first, in the year 1790, Highway 1 was a wooden bridge. It completed a highway that crossed through the United Nation then. Today, Highway 1 has been named U.S. Now, hundreds of millions of years ago, all of us on this planet were together in one highway only, idea. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Pangea began to break up very slowly. We're still doing that. We're breaking up slowly. We are moving, not the boat. The plates of the Earth are moving over the core, all of us westward, not at the same speed. I'll give you an example. A year from today, if you want to take an airplane ride out of New York to your destinations anywhere in North America, next year you should travel exactly the same distance as you do right now. But that should be Notice what's happening. That is the North American plate on which we reside is moving faster than any other place. To us, the Pacific Ocean is getting a little less vulnerable, and the Atlantic is the opposite. Now, most of the Earth's surface is formed not by plate action, but by volcanic action. Gives you a much softer rock. Shows the breaking downward. Manhattan's big buildings.
Hey Rochelle, you say Urbanist, I appreciate the hard work and thoughtfulness you put into these videos. My pleasure, Rochelle. I'm so happy I could show you New York. And thank you so much for watching from Greer, South Carolina. Cool. I can't wait to visit South Carolina one day and see Charleston. There's so much to do and see here. Are you spoiled? Maybe don't get too impressed wherever you go. Deb, I've covered videos in over 13 cities. I get impressed very easily. I love exploring and traveling to other different cities. However, in terms of size and scope of a city, yes. You know, when I go to like a downtown area in Europe, I'm like, oh yeah, this is small. There's like 3 streets in Manhattan. Especially when I go around America. However, I'm impressed by many other things. I think, yeah, it's hard to compete with New York in terms of size and height of buildings. You might need to go somewhere like Shanghai or Shenzhen in China in order to see something equally as big. But when it comes to other types of history, like historic monuments, cultural neighborhoods like in Soho and in London, you end up getting a really different flavor of awesomeness in those cities, in my opinion. So yeah, it's easy to be spoiled here. Especially as a person who lives here, you know, it's easy to never see any of these tourist sites. So here we're passing by New Jersey. No, is this New Jersey? No, this is not New Jersey. It is. Let me know in the comments. I think, no, we're passing through the Bronx. Namaste, Sylvina. How long is this ride? 2.5 hours, and yes, you can buy snacks in the lower level. So we still have an hour left.
Our New York City flag on the left is the lower right-hand flag of 4-inch white and blue. Now that flag was first raised above this land in the year 1623, and the guys who put it up had never heard of a town called New York. It has flown here every day since. Sorry about that. In a few minutes. Right now, though, the boathouse is coming up on
David, a lot of New Yorkers don't go to the tourist sites. I agree. I think things are changing because obviously we barely have tourists. Some of them might have snuck in, but we barely have tourists here.
9 miles north of New York, way out in the country. New York was way down to our left, another 9 miles.
Petrin, you say my charisma makes these tours attractive. I'm so glad you enjoy my charisma.
It's called the Sherman Creek Recreation Area. 80 different marinas and a boathouse. Now the marinas, they've never been rebuilt. The last one that collapsed just happened a few years ago. Still some wooden pieces out in the water to take out, but other than that, the marinas are gone. But here comes the namesake. Sherman Creek on our left goes a little over 100 yards. That's it. It doesn't look very formidable at all. It is very important though, because it represents what used to be. Most of us have no idea of what Manhattan used to look like.
This is making a round trip around Manhattan from starting and stopping in the same place, going around the island.
Taken up by housing now. We'll forget what used to be hills and valleys and rivers. Sherman Creek Recreation Area just behind us. Now the Dutch and their flag. The flag of New York City comes from a meeting in Amsterdam. The meeting began in the year, in the early 1600s it began, because then the meeting in Amsterdam was held so that Henry Hudson could talk to the Dutch West India Company about what he had found here in the New World. The Dutch West India Company. In the early 1600s, they represented the Netherlands here in the New World. Islands and cities to our south, way down to our south, now on our left.
So Jim, these trees that you're seeing is Morningside Heights, Washington Heights,
no idea what happened to him. What did he find? Is he still around? He'll tell them.
Central Harlem as well. We're passing all those different neighborhoods. Inwood we passed as well. And they're all along
the government officials asked the West Indian Company to send some men north of their territory to an island called Manhattan here in the New World and found a brand new city. Trade for fur and get rich quick. The city will be called New Amsterdam. Nice idea, get rich quick, but we're not going. You're going to get us killed if we go up there. We have no military. You're giving us no help. Somebody's going to attack us. We can't defend ourselves. We're not going to do that. So an agreement was reached, and the agreement resulted
Catherine, I'm so glad you know Washington Heights well.
And it resulted in New Amsterdam being an international city. That was the deal. Look, Dutch possession is not going to be a Dutch possession. It's going to be an international town. We're going to call it New Amsterdam. Anyone from all over the world could come here. You should come here. You can make a fortune quickly in the fur trade. And the flag. The flag will be an international flag. No one has ever seen it before. The Dutch flag will not be used here.
Raoul, have I visited India? No, not yet. I can't wait to go one day.
We're still the big
Very eager to see a lot of historical landmarks of India.
It's not completely,
Their flag is ours now. And New Amsterdam is a city called New York. That's why there's no military, there's no army, no navy. The only defense New Amsterdam ever built was a wall. The wall was made of wood. You could burn it. Wall Street today. No defense from the waters, and that's where the attack apparently would come. The attack of 1664 by Great Britain. Well, the soldiers on the ships that came in, the military ships, they never tried to go to the city. Instead, they sent to build a fortress in lower Manhattan that gave Great Britain control.
Abandoned ports. You see the
Duke of York
pylons.
would run the place now. Britain, so the city was named for the Duke, New York.
Hey, David, you say I haven't been inside the Statue of
Now,
Liberty.
the 207th
I ended up going to
Street
Ellis
subway
Island for the hard hat tour and never made it back to the statue. The board situation is very
Unless you're in
confusing.
the subway to the board,
Yeah, you first go to
all
Statue of
your
Liberty,
silver
then you go to
subway
Ellis
cars
Island.
are
That's the
red,
route of the
red,
boat.
yellow, for example. You'll see them 2 to 4 in the morning, though, in the other colors. They come out to clean up the tracks, make things bearable so the silver cars can run very well. 2 to 4 in the morning.
You ever seen the
And the yellow and the red
crane?
cars that comes out here.
The subway crane?
It's all barrier against water.
You ever seen it go across Manhattan
Deb,
Bridge?
it has been Paris, London, Montreal,
Subway system.
Maine in the U.S.,
I love the smell of diesel.
Now the lowest
Rome,
ways that
Italy,
we come to
Naples,
this is
Smells like
Pompeii,
two towers to the Broadway Bridge, so we got a very low one.
and Bucharest in Romania, and Helsinki in Finland, and Estonia as well. So I've done a few of them, and Puerto Rico as well. So a lot of places.
We used to point to it and go, is that Kingsbridge? And they go, no, Kingsbridge used to be over the Tibbetts River, which was built, was covered over, and, you know, is now under the ground, you know. But no, that's the Kingsbridge. We're at Kingsbridge. Like, it was the VA hospital, which is off Kingsbridge Road.
Ooh, David, feel free to post them on the Urbanists of the World group. The spooky pictures of the hospital ruins.
Second grade? Third grade? Fourth? Maybe fourth grade. Fourth grade.
Jim, that is correct. That is very, very correct.
Now the Broadway Bridge ahead of us is a double-decker bridge with subway traffic up on the top, the number 1 train. From the Bronx up down to the Battery downtown. Down here in the rear of the upper deck, the open section. Please resist.
Thank you, Rule. I appreciate it.
Touch this bridge. This will be the lowest bridge we're going.
So that's the building right there, that orange building.
Okay, I'm so happy you're loving it. Thank you so much for tuning in.
That's on Kingsbridge Terrace. That's right across the street from 2862 Kingsbridge Terrace.
I paid $34, though the prices do change upon how many people are using it or the tourist season. So I've seen prices go as high as $60, $70. However, I paid $34 right now.
It goes up to the Grand Concord. Huge hill. I mean, between Heath Avenue and Cedric Avenue.
Let's go widescreen. Oh yeah, look at that. Whoa. Here's the Metro North stop of Marble Hill. Now, fun fact, Marble Hill used to be part of Manhattan. It was cut off and in order to make it easier for boats to pass by through Manhattan as well. And then it just became part of the Bronx. Never claimed back from Manhattan. Neridia! You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think my parents were both first generation Americans. We went to many of the tourist sites as kids. And I love visiting other cities like San Francisco, Boston, Philadelphia, Albuquerque, San Juan, Paris. Oh yeah, it is amazing visiting all these other cities.
Columbia's school colors, blue and white. This is cheering section on the race course. big Henry Hudson Bridge just around the corner here up ahead. Up here, Hudson discovered the fur and that brought in the Dutch, and so this is the Henry Hudson Bridge. Where the bridge Manhattan on the left-hand side at the base of the bridge. That's also the northern tip of Manhattan Island. That lies almost 13.5 miles north of
Here we have
Manhattan Island. So here the big bridge up ahead.
Judith. You haven't been in the Circle Line in so long. Great way to spend the day. Yes, it is. Thank you so much for tuning in.
That was probably also part of the spike What? No, but I'm saying this was probably, you can see, this is flat.
So here in the distance, you see a lot of people saying the term "yer." "Yer" is like the greeting in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklynites know as well. So cool thing about the Metro North here in the state of New York is that it goes one line goes along the Hudson River, so you can see amazing views along the Hudson, all by riding the railroad, which is rare, I think, in the U.S. Good afternoon, Kenny in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for tuning in. What does the C mean? I don't know, but I think on the loudspeaker they mentioned it was associated with Columbia University.
Amtrak Railway has their little bridge turned over for us to go through. The Dumbo bridge is too small. Bridge rotates over.
David, yes, Marble Hill is the neighborhood. That's part of that was a part of the Manhattan. Yeah, the Henry Hudson Bridge. Judith, thank you so much for clarifying this. The Hudson line.
The Bronx extends all the way
Oh, I've never seen this piece of infrastructure. So it's the train. It's a bridge to the train that connects with the Bronx and Manhattan, and it's actually Sputum Dival Bridge. Thank you for letting us know, Henrik. This I never really seen before. Whoa. Deb, yes, I've done many videos in Puerto Rico. Search Puerto Rico Urbanist on Facebook, and you'll see it there. However, I made another channel where I posted my older live videos, Urbanist Live Explorations on YouTube, and you'll see the Puerto Rico videos there.
It's like a 7-mile track. 6 miles.
Now we're headed for the big buildings of Midtown, way past the bridge up ahead, right? We're on the Hudson, and we'll be on the
So this is New Jersey. Here we have the Palisades, beautiful
Northern
cliff
Hill
sides.
is the only piece of Manhattan Island that is original, the only piece that Henry Hudson would recognize. This hill is here intact as the entire island used to be. Now most folks would never leave Midtown. They think the island was always flat. It wasn't. It looked like this. This hill is still here because in the year 1930, the Rockefeller Foundation purchased the hill as a gift to the city of New York. They gave it to the city, but it was countryside when it was purchased. Now it was purchased in 1930 because then the Rockefellers were building something called Rockefeller Center in down Manhattan. They knew someday people will forget what this place used to look like. Let's show that.
So here we're seeing Fort Tyrone Park, and here is the cloisters, a museum built entirely out of pieces of monasteries from all over Europe.
Only here on either side is the original land for the next 13.5 miles ahead of us, all the way down to the Battery. It used to look like this. In other words, what it does not look like this on either side now is redone with what we call civilization.
Wow.
Now to get to where we're going, we'll leave Inwood Park and North End of Manhattan here on the left, then we'll come to a spot on Manhattan Island.
Hey, do I ever see famous folks when I'm out and about? Yeah, I've seen famous people in New York City. Not while live video. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe one day it'll happen. I got very close to seeing Hugh Jackman once on a live video. However, randomly on my own, I've seen Justin Timberlake, Tom Hardy, Zachary Quinto, who's Spock in the new Star Trek movies, and a few others.
I was the biggest Western European art gallery anywhere.
Zoom in on the cloisters.
The Cloisters Museum coming up on the hilltop, up ahead, up on the hilltop. Now, a cloister, that's a square open.
Catherine, yes, Inwood, and then we have Fort Tyrant. So yeah, that's Inwood first.
There's 7 old medieval cloisters in the building. Tapestries and keys in that time period. Bibles that took years to write by hand. The Cloisters is a very, very simple place to get to on public transportation. Go to Madison Avenue. Madison Avenue, Midtown. Take the number 4 bus up to the Cloisters, last stop at the front door. And back down Fifth Avenue and right
Boy,
to
the
Midtown.
bus doesn't go up to the Cloisters now. It stops at the entrance of the park. The Cloisters.
Here's what this is called Washington Heights. It's a mound of trees, green trees, just ahead of us. About 45 degrees out past the sailboat on the left-hand side here. Now in the summertime, you can't see what's behind the trees. In the trees is Port Washington. That's why this is Washington Heights. That's why this is the George Washington Bridge. Port Washington is the only Revolutionary War fortress remaining.
Let me know in the comments, have you seen any celebrities in New York City? George saw Greta Garbo, walk right across from me. She used to be apparently a recluse who was stuck in her apartment along West 52nd Street, East 52nd Street for a long while.
You'll see up ahead before the bridge. We're southbound on the Hudson. New Jersey is going to be on the right-hand side after the rest of the bridge.
Donald, you saw Matthew Broderick in the back alley. What back alley was that? Really beautiful park. Highly recommend people visiting Fort Tyrant Park that connects to the Cloisters. You get amazing, magnificent views of the Palisades.
Garden over there. It's a park, right?
Deb? Indeed. All right, here's the George Washington Bridge, built by Ottmar Edman Ammann. I love his name. He was a Swiss architect who built the George Washington, the Tryon Bridge, and also the Verrazano Bridge. Ottmar Edman Ammann. Say that 10 times over. Or I can pronounce it very American. Ottmar Herman Ammann. Jim, you sat behind Bernadette Peters. Oh, that's so cool, Jim, in Soho. Yeah, Bernadette is... A lot of people have seen Bernadette. We talked about her a few weeks ago. Justine, you've seen Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, cool. You know, I've seen him before. I saw him in the concert of Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. It was really cool. So with a huge beard. Tom Brokaw saw Karen saw. Sarah, you saw Gene Hackman buying a hot dog on 5th. And John Kennedy. Ooh, you saw John Kennedy. Interesting. In the subway on your way to work. You have such a cute laugh. I'm happy that I made you smile. Thank you, Deb. John Jr. Also, John Kennedy Jr. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, because John F. Kennedy would have been a long time ago.
This is the George Washington Bridge, and the last one we'll come to. Now the GW, the George Washington Bridge. Flight 1549 cleared this bridge by only 300 feet, about 100 meters.
Yeah, Judith, they saw George Hamilton. Who's George Hamilton, Judith? I don't know too much about him.
The bridge is the narrowest piece of the river, so that's why the little Red Lighthouse is up there on our left.
Henrik, I agree. G-Hammock goes well with the hot dog. It's just like very New York, and I 100%
As we
agree.
come to the GW, we'll come to the end of the Rockefeller Bridges here on the right. In other words, the Palisades State Park will stop, and New Jersey will continue.
Okay, so here we have a really cool little landmark, the Little Red Lighthouse.
Exactly 7 miles from the piers of
Washington Heights under the George Washington Bridge. It's a lighthouse you can actually climb when it's open. It's pretty tiny. I think it's only about like 2 or 3 stories tall.
Apartment buildings, these all apartment buildings.
And there is a really cool artwork just about a 5-minute walk away from there. It's just a bunch of piles of stones. It looks very creepy, but it's actually just a modern artwork.
Still almost $1.1 million. The 3 other buildings that are not apartments on the go-top and on our left half of the bridge. There are 3 identical towers.
Hey, Henrik, there was a movie that ended in that lighthouse. Which one was it? I'm very curious to hear which one was it.
Red Lighthouse.
There was one of the Marvel TV shows filmed there as well. It might have been Jessica Jones. So Otmar Amman's bridge, who he built on commission from Robert Moses, the master planner of New York. His design style was very simple. Thank you so much for watching, Raul, even though it's 2:33 a.m. in India. Steven, you're a new subscriber. Thank you so much for tuning in, Steven. Irene, you're back. Welcome. Hey, if you're tuning in for the first time, let me know. My name is Ariel, and let me know where you're watching from. If you have tuned in before, I'm very curious. What neighborhood of Manhattan would you live in? Let me know in the comments. What neighborhood in Manhattan would you live in? Michelle, you saw Kim and Kanye at 8th Avenue. Oh. And this is the exact spot where Sully landed his 747 on the river. Yeah, there's a Tom Hanks movie about it. It happened about 20 years, a little bit less than, about like 10, 11, 12 years ago. And the 747 landed right here, emergency landing. And he was such a good pilot, he landed it perfectly. So no, I don't think no one died. And I don't think there was that many injuries, or none. Justine, you love my mask. Oh, thank you. Judith, you're joining my Patreon. Thank you so much, Judith, for the support. All of that support goes to showing you more sites like these boat tours, and maybe soon another bus tour and other awesome sites like these. Well, let me clarify. If you could afford anything, which area of New York would you live in? So the Hudson, as you can tell, is much wider than the East River. So that's why there's very few bridges that pass between the Hudson, between Manhattan and New Jersey. There's been proposals, but they never gone through, because it would just be a massive bridge to do it around this area. So Justine says the Village. Bernard says you will live in Chelsea. Oh yeah, Chelsea is a good spot. Gramercy Park, I would live, says Deb. Judith says Upper West Side on River City Drive. Oh yeah. Sylvina would live in Washington Heights. Oh, cool. Like the amazing musical In the Heights. Henrik says, I think the coolest celebrity to see would be David Letterman. Janelle would love to live in Brooklyn. Kay would live in Vinegar Hill. Ooh, interesting pick. Vinegar Hill is very quiet living. And it's cool because you're next to everything, but it's very quiet. Bay Ridge in Brooklyn, says Gayatri. Ooh, good choice. You can own a very big house there. I think soon we'll be passing through Hoboken, though that might be a little bit further down. A lot of interesting picks. The George Washington Bridge was supposed to have a coating, but I think they gave up on the idea. Yeah, I think Robert Moses wasn't a fan of painting his bridges because also the Verrazano Bridge is rather plain blue as opposed to the very iconic red that we see from San Francisco's Golden Gate.
One of the ironies here is that you can come up on top any day for lunch or dinner. They serve thousands of...
Chris, you saw actor Peter Dinklage, Tyrion Lannister. Oh, so cool. He's short in real life, just like on TV, says Chris. Oh, so cool that you saw him. He lives in New York, if I'm correct. He's from New Jersey. Yeah, he's from New Jersey. Where did Tony Soprano live? I don't know off the top of my head, because I've never really seen The Sopranos, but let me know. He lived in New Jersey, definitely. I'm not sure exactly where.
What they call the South River, we call the Delaware River today.
And would love to live in Lower Manhattan, says Brandon. And where would I love to live? That's a great question. I would love to have a waterfront apartment on Brooklyn Heights. Mentioned that many times. Or on the waterfront along Williamsburg. It's one of the two places I would live in. Cool thing about Brooklyn Heights is that if you go a waterfront apartment, you can have a waterfront apartment or townhouse and live also in the townhouse. So you have like 3 floors to yourself.
Now the term Big Apple comes out of Harlem. Actually, New Ellington was supposed to open a brand new jazz club. Early 1920s, and the name of the club would be the Cotton Club. I was at lunch one day with some of these band members and had no idea there was a newspaper reporter tonight. So the reporter copied down the Big Apple idea. Ellington said, look,
now they want to change the names of all these animals that have like unacceptable style names, like the Frank Beetle.
We've never had so much money to the Cotton Club. So it's the Big Apple for us. So the term Big Apple was translated into the best.
Now this is going to be a cool view because we're going to see the tallest church of all of the U.S., which is Riverside Church, right there in the distance, that huge tower. We see a neo-Gothic tower.
Going downstairs? Whoa, you want to give me water? Okay, or something cold, non-alcoholic.
Okay, let me zoom in. So right there is Riverside Church, the tallest church in all of the United States of America. I did a tour of there two weeks ago. And right in front of it, we see that dome, that kind of pointy dome. That's Grant's tomb of a former U.S. president who served shortly after the Civil War. He was a Civil War general as well for the Union Army. Diva, are you required to stay in one spot? No, just people are not moving around, but no.
Riverside Church on the hilltop about 45 degrees ahead is Harlem, 120th Street. That is the tallest tower in Christendom here in North America. Riverside is an interdenominational Protestant church. It's about 2,500 people. Here on the scene by us is the Yankee Church, the biggest one in the city. St. John the Divine sees about 10,000 people. Now, Grant's tomb is this side of the church, the rotunda, the columns, and the triangle roof.
Where's President Grant buried? Oh, good question, Stephen. Where is President Grant buried? Let us know in the comments.
He is the only president of our country to find resting places here in New York. He is the most unlikely president to be here, but he's here. He's here with his wife, Julia. Grant wanted to be buried at the military academy at West Point. He's here instead for personal misfortune and the presidency. The year is 1878. Grant is leaving the presidency in D.C. He addresses the American people and he will say that he and Julia, his wife, are going to retire on the shores of the Mississippi River. He wants to avoid big cities.
Jim says it's a trick question. Jim, you are correct. Grant is not buried in Grant's tomb. He's entombed in Grant's tomb. I think it's an old trick question put in textbooks in America. A lot of people don't get it nowadays, but it used to be a very popular joke. Definitely well before my time, though.
The problem is he ran out of money. 4 years later, there he and Julia are on the shores of the Mississippi, and he says to Julia that they are without funds. He'd say we're broke. Nonetheless, he said,
so thank you so much for the wonderful words. Happy you're enjoying it.
Julie's reply, part of her reply, going.
They even said that in Canada, says Donald. Oh, interesting, Donald. As they mentioned that in Canada. That's very interesting.
Tell our close personal friends, someone will help us.
There's so much green in New York, because yeah, especially on this side of Manhattan, you see Riverside Park right now.
Mr. Clemens promptly offered him a job. He said, "Look, you're the perfect American
George,
story.
yes, we're gonna see Upper West Side right here. That's Upper West Side. All this, the West End. Really great park to walk around. Yeah, Irene, I mentioned that many times.
With nothing and do that. Write your memoirs. That's what I want you to do.
The Grant's tomb joke.
Write your memoirs. Now, people know about you, but they don't know your background. The problem is you have no experience in writing, but I do. You have no money to publish the memoirs when they're done. I do. So, talk to Julia. I want you to come to my house in New York. Now, you said you never come to a big city again, but people would think we're just visiting you. Put this into a form of a book. He said, I'm going to publish the book at my own expense. You and George and I will share the profits. They all agreed, so down they came. The only thing that could have gone wrong with this did go wrong. Grant died. Grant died after the memoirs were completed, but before they were published. There was a funeral here in New York City. Over 1 million people lined the streets to pay their respects. At the end of the funeral, he was out of here, he's leaving in New York. Now let's talk to him. He said, look, Julia, I promised my friend I'd take care of you. You have no money at all. How much money do you have? Julia has $18.85.
Now these apartments would be really awesome as well. Great views of the Hudson. And they're very beautiful, built mostly in the late 1800s, early 1900s. All of them are from like 1910, 1920.
Here's how. Tomorrow, one of my books is being published. I'm going to do a 2-week book tour. I'm leaving the house. It's yours to live with. I'm leaving the house for 2 weeks when I return. I'll say
look at that interesting contrast between the lower-rise buildings of the Upper West Side, and then we have the mega tall structures along 57th Street, Billionaires Row. Isn't it a shame? It's a shame that this bar isn't serving. Yeah, you can buy beer downstairs there. They have a snack bar with beer.
$200,000 in cash in just 2 weeks for Julia. She's going to have $500,000 before that. She's going to autobiography to us for everything today. The best-selling memoir ever written by any president.
If you get drunk on a boat, there's either two scenarios. One, you get so drunk that you forget you're on the boat and you're fine. Two, you get so drunk that you get very queasy and then you realize you're on the boat and throw up. It's two scenarios. Let me know what type of person you are. Not many apartments in those thick towers. No. For example, one of these buildings, I think, is this one, the skinniest skyscraper in the entire world so far. That one has, I think, only 58 apartments around there. Yeah, only about 58 apartments.
Big shiny was right behind it originally, so that's most of the people that got there now is the tallest apartment building in this hemisphere. Not for long though. It's get replaced by these silver.
Or David, get drunk and fall overboard. That is very possible here. When I stand up, I do not feel so confident because my center of gravity is actually much more taller than this. Here's a leg comparison. Yeah, don't get so drunk that you forget that you're on the side. Unless if you want to take a nice swim in the Hudson. In this point of view, yeah, we see how truly skinny it is. It's so skinny that the bar is blocking one entire skyscraper. Look at that. So now it's being revealed a little bit more. So that bar of the ship covered the entire skyscraper. I love the birds on your shirt. Oh, thank you so much, Donald. They are toucans. Gotta represent the birds. D star, you say your ears pinged when you heard beer. They're waving. Yep, you can have beer in this boat. Irene says, when I see all those tall buildings, I think of earthquakes. We have too many of those. Yeah, the more I learn about New York City infrastructure and architecture, the more I'm afraid of an earthquake. But let's not think about that. Right here we're coming across Waterline Square. Waterline Square is one of the larger private development projects here. They're costing more than $9 billion. It's a massive project all along this area of Manhattan, around 57th Street, 60, all the way to like about 63rd, 64th. Justine, you're in the major fault line.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any casino boat trips? No casino boat trips. There are party boats. Boats where they have DJs and they have cocktails, other various types of alcohol. Yeah.
And the tallest building in the city of New York is only 6 floors tall. How do we build them taller? We know how. Brooklyn Bridge has been up for 2 years.
Oscar says my next live stream should be a jet ski on the East River. Let me know in the comments. Would you like to see a live video on the jet ski from the East River? Going very fast. I have to admit, I don't know how to swim.
So we have these standpipe water to solve the problem. And that's what we call the one tank standpipe. Look, you don't have to
Judith
worry about
says
it anymore.
nope.
You can see the water. The law is still with us. If your building exceeds in height 6 floors, you must then maintain on your rooftop a minimum of 10,000 gallons of water, insulated against freezing in the wintertime and visible to the public. That visible part, that was to calm you down. Look, you can see the water.
Ugly
up
line
there.
of buildings on the
Don't worry
left. That is
about
what
it.
happens when the
Fine.
public gets involved in architectural design. I agree. Sometimes we
The law is
have
amended.
buildings
So
that
here
are
in 1924,
they don't express too
in
much.
1924, we amended the law simply to
And there's
say
this
that
kind of movement in
the
architecture too,
architecture-
or there was in the past like 20 years or so,
that are alongside us right now could not be built back there.
were mostly designed to kind of blend in. Now things are changing. The city's mandating less glass and steel and more stone and wood on buildings. So we might see a change in the look of the skyline
Where
soon.
the big building ends, where the sailboat is.
Irene says I have to learn how to swim first.
There's a 38-foot.
And we're in a major fault line, says Justine. Oh, I didn't realize Justine. That is on a major fault line. Oh.
Build a park, fold the
That is worrying.
up there to smooth things out.
That is very
Buildings
worrying.
would not be put back there. They would collapse where the old buildings are located, so the buildings look better.
Here we have West 57, built by Bidrick Engels, famous Danish starchitect. Not architect, he's a star plus an architect. Well, starchitects. It's a new term that they give to these architects that are very famous. And this is his first building in New York. He's very well known in Europe, and he's about to build the Spire. So the Spire is going to be the tallest tower in the entire Western Hemisphere in Hudson Yards. So soon Hudson Yards, you're going to see a building not this tall, but this tall. Whoa.
You never saw the Twin Towers downtown. We can bring up the round stack that's coming up. Soon thereafter, take a look at what the Twin Towers look like. Let's go back to that big apartment building, the blue one with the silver on top of that and then the crane. Down low, down the left wall, two Twin Towers missing. Like a silver across the top, but nonetheless they're now at the southwest corner of Central Park. Copies of the Twins used to be downtown. So we'll go back to the round stack on the waterfront.
Build both sides. Yeah, you go
Behind it
downhill.
comes that big tall apartment tower and then to the left.
But
of
no,
that,
thank you so much for presenting
Tower
this,
2.
Ariel. It's been great to tag along this tour. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. But no, we're coming up towards the end. I think we only have about 10 minutes left.
Tower 2
Feel free to ask me
behind
any
that.
questions that you have about New York City. Happy to
Now, if you were a passenger on
answer anything.
Circle Island,
Here we have the IRT Power Station. And this power station,
on this on that day,
it's concourse. It has like a huge open area. If you were to gut it out and build a concourse there, it would be larger than Grand Central Terminal. So it's a really interesting Beaux Arts building.
called the airplane is the air.
I think it was designed by Stanford White, though I'm not 100% sure. Or definitely inspired by him.
Gave a call over the ship radio from the Coast Guard.
Irene,
Somebody
indeed.
told us that
Indeed.
there's an airplane way out of the flight pattern, far too low. It stops on over G.W. George Washington Bridge.
Deb, I don't live near 125th Street, luckily. No.
G.W. are supposed to clear the lines to clear it, pull over.
I live outside of Queens.
Give the pilot the center of Union City. By the 340 picked up about an hour.
So if you enjoyed this tour, tune in every single
We passed 343 earlier.
Wednesdays and Saturdays at 1 p.m. This was a bonus live video, which I might do a few more of.
Airplane is going to hit the Hudson River. It's going to hit right around 4-2 round.
And if you want to see more videos, you can go on Facebook,
Boat's going to be there in 3 minutes. Now that is
YouTube,
too late. The guy who made the call knows that. 3 minutes
and Instagram for
down
photos.
at that time. Somebody else is going to pump the water. So,
And if you want to leave a tip for this video, you enjoyed it, want to see more videos like this on other cool New York City attractions, and also historical tours of the different neighborhoods and nearby areas of New York, you can press the star button on the bottom if you're on Facebook, or press that super chat button on YouTube. And all contributions help for making more videos of New York and beyond. Also, you can become a supporter on Facebook by pressing that Become a Supporter button, or become a Patreon on patreon.com/Urbanist.
submarine, airplane, and aircraft carrier, part of the museum.
Jim, yes, Staten Island will be coming soon. I'll be doing St. George's
Now, when we come to
Terminal,
the pier,
yeah.
there should be plenty of
So you might be seeing that
transportation.
soon. Let's see
Across street,
what the
two
history
bus
is of
lines
St.
to the
George's.
city. They run right in front of our ticket office. And we have over 13,000 taxi cabs in town.
You ever see Das Boot?
Now, if you're out front on our pier and somebody says, do you need a taxi? You may need a taxi, but just be aware of something. They're fine, but they're not taxi drivers. Taxi drivers don't get out of their cab before you get in the car. And there's restrooms on the piers. Probably shut down our restrooms.
Thank you everyone so much for watching. I'm Ariel with Urbanist. Keeping awesome and always keep on exploring.
Now, on the aircraft
Have a great day, everyone. And if you're exploring New York City, wear a mask. Have a great day, and thanks everyone for your stars and super chats. I appreciate it. See you next Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Glorious day here in New York. Enjoy it. We'll see you over